number 2, the speaker again checks that that presentation matched the audience's level of knowledge, that it was supportive of each point, and that it used the visual aid as Ben shared with us. Jim's talk is about wealth of resources that Toastmasters throughout the world have generated to supplement, to explain, or to summarize the program that Toastmasters International provides. Jim realized that he discovered many of these resources in a way that paralleled the classic Greek stories of the Iliad and the Odyssey. His title, therefore, is A Toastmasters Iliad and Odyssey. Please welcome Jim.
Thank you, Nikki. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome back, Krista. Sing, goddess, of the rage of Achilles, rage that brought woe and countless ills to the Achaeans. So begins that great Homeric epic, the Iliad, in which Achilles argues with Agamemnon. Agamemnon rushes over and grabs Achilles' slave girl and takes her back. Achilles gets angry and goes off to his tent and sulks for the rest of the war, which is about 10 years. Now, sometimes I feel that my relationship to Toastmasters International has followed a comparable pattern. I always seem to be arguing with them. And it really came to a head when we had to change our website and create the new Free Toast Host #2 website. I looked at that, and luckily I was saved because Jeff did it. Jeff went in and took the time and effort to make a website and to make one that would work. I was lucky, and like Achilles, that helped me to come out of my tent and stop sulking and ask a question, because there were things missing from the new website. I'd gone back to the old website and I copied out almost everything that was in there that I wanted to transfer over. And among those things was the Distinguished Club Plan. Felt it's really important that we have a place where the whole club can go and look, what is the plan? Couldn't find it. I wrote to the support group for FTH2, and I'll give you a little bit of our dialogue. I said, using search, I cannot find any reference to the Distinguished Club Plan. Are there any provisions for planning and monitoring progress, as there were in the previous FTH website template? I got a response back rather quickly. That was nice. The official response was, most clubs add a link to the site pointing to the DCP report at toastmasters.org. I passed this on to Jeff, and he very kindly created that link so that we could get to that report, and I looked at it. Well, all the report does is tell you how many of them you've satisfied. It doesn't tell you who was involved. There are all sorts of things it doesn't tell you. So I went back to support and I wrote, in my view, pointing to the TI records is worthless. I should have said is next to worthless. That would have been more polite. That only tells you what you have accomplished, not what you have planned. Moreover, it only gives total numbers, does not attach names to the data. FTH1 had a useful page. I'm sorry to see that it's gone in FTH2. About a week went by, and I got an email that said somebody's replied to your note. So this helpful Toastmaster had replied, and he said, I agree that this was a useful feature to plan and compare against the TI DCP status. I searched the web and found a useful DCP worksheet on a certain site. I went to that site, and sure enough, there is a worksheet there, and it is very nice. but I can always print a worksheet and have a worksheet. I wanted something better than that. I didn't pursue that site very much. At this point, I'm still being Achilles sulking in the tent. When I became Odysseus and started traveling around the web, I came back to this website and found it really had quite a bit of interesting material. But about a week after that, a really helpful Toastmaster wrote the following. I created a web page with 3 links. One to the TI DCP status page, one to the DCP worksheet that I just looked at. And he said I downloaded the worksheet to our website so that I could update it anytime I wanted to. And he said, and a 3rd link to this cool DCP tool. And he gave me a website for that. I passed that on to Jeff. How many of you have visited the link that he has on our website that says DCP Progress? Thank you, Barbara. Shame on the rest of you. It is a great, I don't know what to call it. It's a website that gives you a history, the last 10 years, I think, of your club history on what you've done in meeting the various criteria for getting different awards. It also tells you where you are this year, by name, who got the award, what the award was. And the only names it doesn't have are the new members, just has totals there. But it's a great tool. And so we have it now. Thanks again. Well, now I'm going to give you a really cursory look at Odysseus's travel to get home, because that's what I did next. Now that I'd solved my immediate problem, I went back to those websites and simply began to explore. So that you can explore with me, I have a handout here. I'll ask you to pass on. Ask here to take one. And I have organized that largely in the order that Odysseus himself, that the Odyssey itself, not Odysseus himself, that the Odyssey itself. The Odyssey starts with Odysseus being held by Calypso and he's wanting to get home. Well, I sort of feel that way, that I want these things to work right. I want to get home. And so I went back to the one called toasties-stuff.org and found there's a membership application, happens to be old, but what the heck. There's an overview of all the manuals. Now that is fascinating because that one gives you in tabular form all of the criteria for each manual that you are to satisfy. There's a competent leader record chart and other things that you can see in the bullets underneath that. I wondered, who is this person and where did this website come from? And there was a link back to the District 50. So here I am in Texas going through these various manuals that are of some use. I moved on from there to the really neat website place, which was created by Mike Rafferty, and I now found myself, just as Odysseus did, in the land of Phaeacia, where I could start to recount everything that had happened to me in the past. First of all, I could easily have just gotten lost and forgotten that I had anything else in my mind to do once I got that wonderful DCP history that Jeff has now put on our website. So I could have been in the land of the lotus eaters and just forgotten everything. However, I did still remember that I wanted to get home, and so Odysseus went to the Aeolus to get favorable winds to take him home. Well, that favorable winds, I suggest, are, again, in the Mike Rafferty website, are links to all sorts of official Toastmaster items. Many of them are fascinating, and in particular, you can get free electronic versions of all of those best speaker series kinds of things that cost you $40 to $50 in the hard copy. I've downloaded all 3 of them to my hard drive, and I've put one onto the website, but I need somebody who has a PDF machine who can split one of the files in half, because there's a limit on how big it can be, and one of the files is too big to get there. Well, I kept going on, and I found these wonderful things called Statistics and Maps, and then Lark Doley's Resource CD. Who the heck is Lark Doley? Well, I'll tell you, when I went to those websites and explored, it was like being enchanted on Circe's Island. I could have stayed there and made love to them for hours. Lark Doley, it turns out, was an international director candidate from Region 3 in 2003 to 5. She made this wonderful CD that just has tremendous history on it. So there I am on Circe's Island, but eventually I remember that I'm still headed home, and I get home to Ithaca by going back to my Graphities links and ending up with the final version of them, the Frank Story Pocket Guides. I've printed up 2 of them for you. And this first one, Pocket Guide to the Competent Communicator, is very simple, but it gives you a record. We've had 2 people in the club that I know of lose their manuals this year. And there may be more. If you have this record, you can lose your manual and I can still submit your record. And finally, a wonderful little brochure for guests. Toastmasters, what's in it for me? This has one of the nicest descriptions of Toastmaster meetings and what the benefits of Toastmasters are that I've ever seen. So there I am. I'm home in Ithaca. I hope to stay there and provide you with all sorts of other information that I picked up along the way. I'm Toastmaster.